This is episode 268 of the Super League Pod. This week we find out how asking questions makes you a troublemaker and loosening lockdown is a noisy business. Also, how a stadium can become a pub to make itself COVID secure, and of course the return of Super League. So good news week. Plus NRL match reviews, Brit watch stats, card game recommendations and options. Get strapped in, it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 268 of the Super League Pod. You've got myself, Mark, this week, and rejoined by Rugby League nut Tim G. Welcome back, Tim.
Hiya, how you doing?
Yeah, good. There was a little bit of anxiety there. We've been struggling, haven't we, to get this call off the ground this week.
Connection. I've had all sorts of connections thanks to Virgin Media this week, so it's fingers crossed, and might have to sort of put some black stick-in tape over it.
Well, given that you've across Rugby League in so many areas, and so much has been happening in the last week or so, I do think we need to persevere and get your view on what's been going on, Tim. One key thing to make you aware of is that this weekend would have been our SLP derby.
Well, where annually Wigan put 30 points on OKR.
Or win by 1 point, either way, I'm happy. So yeah, but that's what's led to the quiz this week. So that's a little thing to wear around your mind before we get to that. Do you want to start off by telling everyone who the sponsor is for this week's episode of the show?
Yep, this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. Find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. If you visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers by putting SLP discount, that's SLP discount, in at the checkout.
Yep, great stuff. Thanks to Rob's Toy Shop for their continued support. Now, what we've got on the show this week, it's the news we've all been waiting for, which we will get to at some point in the news rundown, which is about Super League returning. There's some ups and downs in the news, some ups and downs and some head scratchers in the news before we get to that stage. And then we have got some fan reviews in on the NRL action from the weekend to go through. And then we've already sort of teased what the quiz will be about, Tim. But before we get to that stage, I suppose we'll start with what normally would be the shout-out section. So I thought we could give a mention to your community club, the Pitshanger Panthers.
Yep, Pitshanger Panthers. So based in North Ealing, junior side doing under 14s at the moment. Or we had one. Came to a tournament, Nines tournament, the week before lockdown, and that's as much as we've had. Yeah,
so I thought because you're involved there down in London in the community game, I just sort of wondered maybe an update on how the virus is affecting things down in the capital and in the community game, and what sort of things are looking like as the summer comes along. Do you think there will be any further Nines tournaments or the like towards the back end of the summer, or do we just not know?
At the moment, all guesses are possible, all bets are on. We're hoping that at some point in the next few weeks we can get moved down to the next stage where some more training that looks a bit like training would be possible, and that means that we would actually be able to have some proper training going. At the moment you can do small groups in 6-a-side pods, and that's as much as is actually possible, and that includes a coach, so really five players and a coach, and we're not doing that yet. We decided that for us, because we had players that are unfamiliar with rugby league and it wasn't worth pushing and there was no real urgency to get back, it wasn't something we were going to do at the present time.
And how do you feel like with the RFL, their updates have been, and this sort of system they've worked in, they've sort of stepped things up, haven't they, with kind of the system that they've worked in the recent time with, like you say, the different stages. How do you think that's gone overall? Pluses and negatives, I suppose.
I think, actually, to be fair, I mean, I'm well known for pointing out flaws in the RFL when they're there, but actually from the community game side of it, they've been really good. Yeah, so in terms of the communication, they've been really good. Lots, little and often. We've had regular emails, probably pretty much once a week or so, and then about once every 3 weeks they've done a club webinar where you can ask questions. They present to you what's going on, what the latest thinking, what the latest plans are, and it's quite interactive. You can get involved in that. So they've been really good, actually, in terms of getting people involved and getting that organised. It's not easy because you've got a massive spectrum of people. You've got clubs up in Cumbria who've been established for years and years.
Are you in groups with clubs in the heartlands who've got kind of a different set of problems to you guys, a very new club?
Yeah, no, it's just one big group, so there's no bracketing or anything like that. So you've got everybody from Clockface Miners, Introse Bridge, right down to us, Brixton, Tamebridge Trojans I've seen on some of the calls. They've got absolutely everybody all in one bucket, so you sometimes get the arguments between clubs that I think have probably been going on for about 50 years that you might see play out in the questions and stuff like that, so that's quite entertaining. And then also you get but also we've had personal contact from the RFL as well, so they've been helping us in terms of development and trying to get stuff done while lockdown has happened, and so just to make sure that we've got the best chance possible of coming back after it. So they've been quite good. I've had a couple of phone calls with one of the development managers trying to get a few things in place. That's quite good.
Oh, I say overall then that's a really positive update. So that's good
and I
to
think
hear.
Speaking to friends who run other clubs in other sports, I don't think they've had anything like the level of contact from the governing body. So actually, it's something that I think we've done really well.
Oh well, that's a great positive to start the show with, I think. So that's a good update. So everyone can now go into the rest of the show with some positive mindset about the shape of rugby league as we're leaving lockdown. And I suppose the next thing for us to do is move on to the news, where we'll get on to more of that.
So on to the news, and we start with the news that the iconic hotel that was the birthplace of Rugby League 125 years ago is set to become the home of the sport's new National Museum. The George Hotel in Huddersfield was where a meeting took place in August 1895 that led to the creation of Rugby League, and now it's been chosen as the new home for the first permanent exhibition that will celebrate the game's history. So is it my imagination, or didn't there used to be something there?
There was a temporary exhibition in the basement of Mike Stevenson's collection, which I believe got bought up by Rugby League Cares as part of the big heritage drive they had around 10 or 15 years or so ago, when it was still just the Rugby League Benevolent Fund, I think. But to kind of get a collection in place for when the museum would come along, obviously the Bradford Museum never materialised, and I think this is really the natural home for the museum, if there was one. And let's hope that rather than be dismissive and kind of ignore these things, a city right in the middle of the M62, or a very big town in the middle of right in the middle of the M62 is a great place for us to all find ways to go and visit at some point once this is able to open, and work's going to get started pretty quickly, I understand, which is exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. If you think of like particular American sports where they've got proper pilgrimage locations, they've got Cooperstown for baseball, and they've got in Toronto you've got the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is a real destination in and of itself, and people go just to visit that. And I think if we could make something even not on that scale, but something that would be nudging that, where people want to go and want to have a look. And you think about the National Football Museum in Manchester as well, and you've got that. And if we could have something as a sport that's along similar lines, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a really good addition to it, wouldn't it? Be like a Hall of Fame aspect, and those sorts of things would be one of the features I'd really want to see. And I do think it's I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I've been thinking about how we can plan trips there, how we could have SLP meetups in Huddersfield now, and things like that. So I'm really positive about it. And anyone can get there. It's right near the train station. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's part of the possibility of it as well. They could even have an event space in there, and we could do rugby league events in there. Couldn't you imagine the cup draw coming from there all the time?
Oh, not the cup draw. That would be live episodes of Super League Pod, Tip, with an audience.
Well, there we go. Possibilities are endless. Yeah.
I'm excited. I think it's great.
I am as well. I think it's sort of fun, but I really like the fact it's got that tie back to the history, that it is the same venue.
Yeah, exactly. It's not manufactured, is it? That history, that link. I mean, we could put it in other places, and we could make a success of it in other places, I'm sure. But this, like I said, it's a natural home, isn't it? There's a total natural link there.
Yeah, there's a story as why you've done it there.
Yep.
And it's a really good place because, as you say, it's so well connected and in the middle of so many places. So you think of how many fans that will be able to get there within an hour and a half. That's going to be enough once it's up and running, that it will sustain it for quite some time.
Yeah, I would hope so. Definitely. Okay. St Helens, talking about natural homes, St Helens have confirmed they have come to terms on a deal to sign James Graham for the rest of the season. A club statement read, given the recent media speculation, included us talking about it last week, the interviews conducted in Australia, St Helens can confirm it has reached an agreement with James Graham to return to his boyhood club for the remainder of the 2020 season. The club hopes to have Graham in the squad in time for the resumption of the 2020 season. However, the move is subject to formal paperwork being completed. A further announcement will be made in due course. So we talked about this last week, so I've given my take on this. What's your take?
I can't wait. I've always loved James Graham. He's one of my favourite players to watch. I mean, he's still got it. I can't wait to see him back in the competition and tearing it up.
Yeah, I think we did a tweet at the weekend about who people are most excited to see, and obviously some Saints fans came back with Jam as the player they're most excited to see when the season restarts.
Okay, speaking of St Helens and Saints back row, James Bentley has signed a one-year contract extension with the Super League club. The 23-year-old has featured 25 times for Saints since arriving from Bradford Bulls in 2017.
That feels like a long time that he's been there, doesn't it, to only have played 25 times. He was starting to become a useful part of the squad before, in the first part of this season, wasn't he? Playing in lots of different positions, kind of making himself at least be the first name on the bench, if not, selected in the starting lineup every week. So he's given himself a bit more of a chance to crack it at Saints by signing that one-year extension.
Exactly, yeah, and it's then up to him now to cement his place in the side.
Yep. Into the Championship, Swinton have confirmed that the current board now holds a significant controlling stake in the company. Following amicable negotiations with the club's former directors, those remaining shares held outside the immediate board are also now overwhelmingly in the hands of Swinton supporters. So it sounds like sort of positive resolution for the future of Swinton for the supporters there.
Yeah, it sounds like it's in good hands there. Speaking of good hands, Joe Breverton has signed a new 2-year contract extension with Toulouse. The 25-year-old initially joined from Wigan on loan in 2018.
Into League One, Rochdale Hornets coach Matt Calland has signed a new 1-year contract with the club. The former England international joined the club last year and now will remain through to the end of 2021.
Yep, and reports have emerged down under stating that the Australian Kangaroos and the New Zealand All Blacks are holding talks about staging a blockbusting hybrid match at the end of the season, with Australia coach